Hello, fellow habitants of our diverse universe. This is your host, Nikki Zasum speaking, and I hope you enjoy today. Well, I'm with an amazing guest today, which I can gladly say it's one of my closest friends that I've made in the States. She's Alejandra Rincón, and I've met her in the FTF program. She's an amazing person, and I would like to say she's an aspiring future generation leader. I really love her, and I will let her introduce herself a little bit more.
I also miss you very much, and I can confidently say that you are one of the loveliest people that I met while at BFTF. Right now, I'm 18 years old. I live in Texas in the US, and I love to make art and learn about history and just connect with everyone around me. Hopefully, I would like to go into international relations and economics in university.
Good. We have the same plans. Okay, so to the listeners and now viewers who are listening to this for the first time, you guys don't know about this, but this episode is basically gonna be a special about the Latine slash Hispanic Heritage Month. Some people call it Hispanic, some people call it Latino, some people call it Latina Heritage Month, but we're gonna dive into it more further. To make this very clear, we're both Latino. Me and Alejandra are both Latino people, and very proud, I would like to say. um, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Alejandra, do you know why the Latina Heritage Month was created?
No, but I can understand the impact that it has now. At least in the United States, getting to represent a minority population.
So, just to give you a little bit of history and context, I did my research. It all started in 1968 when President Lyndon B. Johnson signed a law declaring Hispanic Heritage Week. It started in September 15 and it was the whole week. However, in 1988, President Ronald Reagan expanded to a full month from September 15 to October 15. And those dates, it's because, if I remember correctly, most of the independence days from like Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua are all on the September 15th, and also Mexico is on the 16th, and Chile is on the 18th. So it all mixes up very nicely, and they decided to get that month for the Latin Heritage Month. And in case you didn't know, Brazil Independence Day is also on September 7th, so it all ties together to it.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and in the US, as you know, there are a lot of Latinos, specifically Hispanic Latinos. Let's make this very clear. Hispanic peoples are those whose mother's language is Spanish, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are all Latinos. But Latinos are the ones who are from America Latina, so Latin America, sorry. So, yeah. Which includes countries who don't speak Spanish. So includes people who are not Hispanic, like Brazilians, and also from other countries. There are, I believe, 3 countries in Latin America that did not speak Spanish. In case you didn't know that. Okay, so I would like to ask you, because I know why I believe Latina Heritage Month is important, and you just mentioned that you believe it's very important. So I wanted to ask, why do you think it's so important?
Well, I mean, taking account like the current situation, very recently in the state of Texas where I live, the Hispanic population surpassed the American-born Caucasian population. So currently we have 12 million Hispanics living in Texas as compared to 11.9 million white Americans living in Texas. But there's like very large wealth disparities between the two, and specifically like in my school and in my school district, we are a majority Hispanic district, and Hispanic students tend to not do as well as other either white, or also we have a large Asian population, so they oftentimes tend to underperform. And I just think that with the rising Hispanic population and the existing Hispanic population in the United States, and especially in the state of Texas, I think it's just really important to not only highlight that our ethnicity is important to these populations, but also to highlight, like you mentioned, the Independence Days and our own histories and how those play into the kind of people that we are in the United States.
Well, I agree with you completely because from what when I visit the U.S., this is gonna sound so absurd to people who don't know, who haven't been to the U.S. But when I visited, I was expecting to see in Indiana, for example, a lot of people who primarily speak English. But when I went to downtown at 4th of July on the moments, I heard a lot of Spanish. I saw a lot of Latino people in Washington and all the states we visit, and that was genuinely surprising and welcoming. But at the same time, even if I'm not Hispanic myself, it was still welcoming. I just never figured out that much because from what the information I get from the outside, I'm not gonna say that it's not the truth, but we don't get that much information. Like, I would never picture Texas as a majority Latino state, and probably Hispanic as well.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think that we have many Brazilians, but yeah.
Majorly Hispanic, and with this being a Hispanic, specifically Hispanic Heritage Month, I would like to clear that out as well, because for a moment I thought it was like Latino, but I realized that it's like Hispanic Latino Heritage Month to celebrate the language and to celebrate the contributions, like you said, that Latino people brought specifically to the U.S. This month is only celebrated in the United States, but I do believe it should be celebrated everywhere that has a lot of Latinos, which honestly is almost everywhere. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. And I appreciate what you said, because when I was doing research, according to this is all dated data. It's from 2020, but in case you didn't know, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, 1 in every 4 children in the United States is Latino. And at the same time, Latino history is largely left out of high school textbooks and that are all over the U.S. So it's kind of crazy to me how all this plays out, and I wanted to ask, what do you think the states should do, or what do you think we as people could do to kind of like teach more and know more about Latino culture and Hispanic culture specifically? Because if we are in the US, for example, and we are not being taught things that we believe should be taught about Latino culture, Hispanic culture, how do you think people who are Hispanic, specifically in the US, can find their community out there? We are there, surely, but how can they find information and learn about their history? What would you recommend to do?
I think obviously, like with the internet, we have a lot of information at our disposal very easily, but also like I can't speak for the rest of the United States. I can speak mostly for Texas, where there are Hispanic people everywhere. And I hate to say it, but I really don't know much of the history of my country. Like, I know Mexico had 2 revolutions. I don't know the details about those.
Yeah.
I know about the financial crisis in Venezuela, but I don't truly know the details about them. And I think, especially since we are right there on the border of Mexico, I think that it would at least be important to give some more details on that. In Texas, we get 2 years of entirely Texas history. But I think that it would really not only be helpful to, everyone in Texas, but very specifically Hispanic people in Texas. I wasn't born in the United States, but I have spent almost my entire life here, and I've been educated entirely here, so I don't know much of those things of my history. And as for your question about finding community here, again, I can't speak for the rest of the United States, but like at least in Texas, in Houston, there's a part of Houston called Katy, and there's so many Venezuelan immigrants in Katy that it's called Katyzuela. And you can just hear Spanish everywhere. Personally, like for example, at school, we get the choice of different languages that we can choose to take in high school. And I chose to take German, which means that I don't really have a chance to speak Spanish throughout the day. So I think it's important to have things like Spanish clubs and kind of community activities through schools to help out people.
Yeah, that's a good side, like a good perspective to it. And people value like German, English, and here like they value German, they value Mandarin, they value all those languages, but mostly like French, German. When we're trying to get into some places and our teachers go like, you need to learn a language, and I go like, what language should I learn? And they go German, French, Italian, but they completely forget and erase about such rich cultures and rich languages like Spanish. Dude, when we were learning about Spanish, when I started learning, the amount of different words for things that we can get and the way we can express ourselves, Spanish is such an amazing language, and the variations of it from different countries. I feel like you can agree when we met Manuel.
Absolutely, yes.
When we met Manuel, when I was listening to you, I was not joining the conversations, but when I was listening to you guys talk in Spanish, it was so like mind blowing to me, because it's not just the accent, the words, the way you guys put things together.
No, it's so funny. Like, we have, even within Latin America, like my dad is Venezuelan, my mom is Mexican. They have completely different vocabulary words for the exact same thing. I that's one of the things I love most about Spanish.
Yes, it's so diverse, and I really love it. But what I was thinking and what I was saying, it just gets to us like Spanish is such a bright and diverse culture, but it's not as valued as languages from Europe, for example, like Italian, French, mostly French. I love the French, but I speak French, but it's not when we're going for like job applications or college applications. Weirdly, they don't value as much, and it just hits us every now and then, which is why I think Hispanic Heritage Month is so important, for example. Because although it's not everyone who celebrates it, because some people don't even know it exists, I have a feeling that some people don't even know it exists. I do feel like it's a good opportunity for example, for lawmakers and for politicians to take the chance to talk about it and talk about the community, because we contributed in so many ways. Economical, I'm not saying me because I was not in the US, but Latino immigrants from the US specifically, they've contributed in many ways, economical, culturally. I can say for mini European citizen me, the amount of music we hear that are in Spanish, that are from Latino, and they praise that so much, but they don't see behind it. They don't see behind the fact that most of the art they consume and love, not just music, even art like paintings, it's from Latino artists. And I feel like this month is a good opportunity for people to take that opportunity and talk about it and use their voice, while also recognizing the fact that there is a bunch of challenges that we face, right? Because we do face a lot. More people in the US face this even more. Because, yeah. What do you think about it?
So again, I can really only speak for Texas.
It's okay. You can speak for Texas.
Yeah, I'll speak for Texas. So, quite honestly, I would have to say that Texas, since it is the land of Texas, used to be part of Mexico. So, fundamentally, there is going to be Mexican culture, and just there's always going to be a Mexican base to Texas that I think most people recognize, and at least today, like modern day, most people are very accepting of it, and we even have like Tex-Mex food, Tex-Mex culture, so it's like very integrated. And whenever you drive down like the highway in Houston, all the car dealerships, they have an American flag, a Texas flag, and a Mexican flag, so it's all like very integrated. Personally, I have faced like a few hardships, mostly like people at school in younger grades saying things like, oh, I bet your parents are gardeners, or like, oh, I bet you only like go to the morning church session because it's in Spanish, and like just these little things that I've noticed. I think I also have to clarify that I am white Hispanic, so like I am not. Most people in Mexico are in some way mixed indigenous and like white Hispanic, and my cousin, specifically one of my cousins, is like blonde hair, blue eyes, and everything. So me specifically living in Texas, a lot of times I pass for white, so I don't feel as though I've had really that first-hand experience of that like visual racial discrimination. But then again, my name is like Alejandra, so whenever people like see my name, they kind of know.
Can I ask something? Is it like this is something that I experienced? Did you ever had to correct how people write or pronounce your name, or did anyone make fun of your name?
Yeah, I don't know. Like in elementary school, it was so hard for the teachers to pronounce and so hard for the students to pronounce that I just went by Ali for a long time. And I like look back at that and it hurts me so much because like that's not my name. And now like all throughout high school I've gone by Alejandra, and you know there's obviously like a variety of ways that people end up pronouncing it, but I think that at least just the principle of having people say my name the way that it's intended, I think that just it's something that I hold a lot of value to.
I am mixed race. My dad is Afro Latino, and my mom's family is also Afro Latino, but my mom is white, like physically white. So I consider myself mixed, but mostly from a Afro Latino family. So whenever I was with my dad, I would get like this weird stares. Even in this is something I feel like we should also recognize. Even inside of Latin America, there's
Oh,
a
absolutely.
lot of a lot
Absolutely.
of xenophobia and racism between us, and this is something we should recognize. Like this is something I found out recently. In Spanish, the word gringo is mean,
Oh, uh-huh.
but in Brazil, it's like fun.
It's
It's like
it
another word.
more than anything, I think it depends on the context. I think that
Yeah,
especially whenever you're like living in Latin America, it's more of like the allure of the foreign,
yeah,
like oh los gringos, you know. But I think it really just depends on the context because you can use it in like a demeaning kind of way.
yeah. Back to more to other topics. I want to talk about a little thingy that I've noticed from you when I was with you, studying with you, is that you participated in a lot of Model UNs and you love
Oh
Model
yes.
UNs. And if I remember correctly, you're the president and the founder of the Model UN in your school. I wanted to talk a little bit about it, like how did that started, and I just wanted to know about it because we're not here only to talk about Latino Heritage Month. I'm interviewing you. So, how did that came to be?
Oh well, thank you so much. Um, so in the seventh grade, um, a high school in my district close to my junior high, they had like a really small conference going on, and since I was interested in like politics and history, I decided to join. I didn't know anything about Model UN. No one taught me how it worked. I was thrown in and expected to learn for myself. And that was like the first experience that I had. And even though it was, you know, very overwhelming and honestly scary, just being in there with all the high schoolers, not really knowing what was going on, it's something that just really captured my interests. And I've been doing it ever since. During COVID, I did a lot of online Model UN. I volunteered for like this online Model UN group run by people like all across the world. So we held conferences online whenever they couldn't be done in person. And now, this since I'm graduating in the summer, this will be my last year of doing Model UN with my school, and it has been one of the most valuable like things I've been part of, because one, it just gives me a place to really, you know, explore my passions and be able to talk about them in a place where there are other people that really care about it in the same way. But also, more than any award that I have won in Model UN, and more than like my position in the club or anything, it's just being able to see the underclassmen, the younger people that join the club, seeing them build the same passions and the same interests in like world cultures and politics, and wanting to, you know, study international relations or political science in university. And a lot of times they'll tell me like, Alejandra, thank you for doing Model UN because it, you know, it taught me that this is what I want to study. And I just, that's one of the most like valuable things to me in the club.
Oh, that's actually so cute. I get that a lot because I participated in a few similar things to Model UN. It was more of like the Model European Court of Human Rights. I've participated on two, one on one. Okay, if I can brag, but I do see that because when I came back from the first one that I won, and it was so hard. Like, it was overwhelming because some of the other ones, like the underclassmates, like that's what you said. New term for me. So when I saw the underclassmates coming to me and going like, "Oh, I'm gonna participate on this. Thank you." Like, it was so good seeing someone like that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And it's just like, it's a place that we are heard. No matter what the case, no matter who you're representing, you are heard. And sometimes you can represent some crazy people that you don't believe in, or some crazy countries, and that's something that really tricked my brain the first time I did it. And then when I did it, I was like, well, okay, now I understand a little bit of how people do those thought process, and I disagree with them even more, but I understand. So maybe this way you can talk.
I've also had the same situation. Last year at the Rice University conference, oh no, like 2 years ago at the Rice University conference, I had to represent Iran in like a human rights committee about LGBTQ rights, which notoriously Iran does not really,
Yeah.
So doing the research for that and how to, really go in all of the arguments in a really respectful manner was such a challenge. And I'm so glad that I did it because, like you mentioned, having to learn about different like historical topics and different political topics from your opposing side, I think just helps you like develop more your stance on it, and helps you just really understand where everyone's coming from. I think that's one of the things I most love about Model UN, that you don't have a choice until you get to represent.
Exactly.
You do it.
Exactly. And it's just like so amazing when you go to it, and then like after everything ends and you're like exhausted from yelling or from talking loudly, because we are very polite. We don't yell. No. Never. We BFTFers don't yell on conferences. No. But we, like, when you get out of it and then you go like, wow, I really defended that. And then you think back and you go like, well, I really believe in what I believe in. Like, it makes your thoughts stronger, but at the same time, it doesn't make you ignorant of the other side. Because there are some people who just go like, I believe in this and this should be it. And they are extreme about it. And I respect that. Like, I respect that you have your opinion, but some people don't try to understand the other side. And I feel like Model UN helps with that. And yeah, and I just want to add something, little note. You, Alejandra Rincón, you inspire me to continue with Model UN and Model European Unions here. So if I can say that, like, I'm not your underclassmates, I'm not. I am older. I am tiny, but I'm older. But you did inspire me a lot because you always talked about it so passionately, and this is why I brought it up to this podcast interview, because I feel like obviously you have a lot of sides. You have a lot to you, but I feel like I couldn't not talk about Model UN with you, because it's just something that I always kept. Like, my first proper conversation with you was about it. I think it was about how there are a lot of people who act like they know it all on Model UNs, on conferences like that. And I remember you were just passionately talking about it. I was like, she's cool. And another side note, seeing Latino people doing that makes me very happy. I didn't get to spend that much time with you in the BFTF because there was a lot of people. But you genuinely like inspired me a lot, and the way you talked about things in classes, it's just very nice seeing Latino people there, and knowing that I wasn't the only one there, although I was a quiet, not Hispanic Latino. I was just like, yay, dale. I was just going there.
Oh, no, well, that makes me so happy to hear. Oh my gosh, that makes me really, really so happy to hear. I mean, Model UN, like, of course it has helped me, figure out my passions and really, like, deepen my love for the things that I love. But I have to say, like, it has introduced me to, aside from BFTF, truly my closest friends. And some friends that I made, like 3 years ago in that online Model UN group are friends I still keep up with now. Like at BFTF, whenever we were in Washington, I met up with one of my friends from Model UN that I made so long ago. And I think it's just such a wonderful group, and I'm so glad that you kept with it.
Yeah, no, I'm also in my senior year, so I can't do much, but I'm definitely gonna pursue a lot of model UNs on my universities, hopefully on the US. But yeah, I just thought I should let you know of it before I completely forget about it.
We're going to stop here for now, guys. We're splitting this interview into 2 episodes since I couldn't stop talking to our amazing guest, Alejandra Rincón, who I thank very much for taking the time to be with me and share her experiences with us fellow habitants of this diverse universe. Stay tuned on our Instagram, appetited.pod, to know more of when the next episode will be out and other informations as well. Thank you so much for listening. This was your host, Nika Desalstremo, and remember folks, to appear is also a power.